Guys and girls, and welcome to episode 78 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out our audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that's joining us live here in the chat. Hello to you all. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up this week, this guy is always living on the edge, pushing the boundaries and sharing his adventures in the metaverse. It's Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yes. I actually feel like I'm living in a simulation after all that VR.
Yeah. It's been a busy week for you.
Is this real life or is this fantasy?
Is it just fantasy?
Open your eyes and see.
Look up to the sky and you'll see.
Yeah.
But you're okay?
Yes, I am. I am still alive.
You sound like very robotic this week.
Yes, I am okay.
Hey,
the real Nathie is not locked up in my basement.
Says the host that has been multiple times, named as a droid, right? Some people accuse you from being an actual robot.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we're all going a bit stir crazy here right now, so I'm just going to move on. Next up, this guy doesn't deal with room scale VR. No. He's taking it to another level. He's going full house scale VR for his VR endeavors. It's VR Twitch streamer Zimtok5. How are you doing, man? You all right?
I am fantastic. I can't believe I made it. I made my dream come true. It was about 6 months ago. I mentioned to my wife, I was like, you know what, honey? I can imagine us having a headset in every room in the house. And she's like, never going to happen. I'm never going to prove that. And I finally did. Grinded her down over months. And finally, I took over my kids' playroom, which they don't really use that much. and I stole the Vive and have that now segmented as it should be apportioned. And the beauty is, this is honestly my first owned, like, proper non-min spec scraping, scale experience. So like not having to worry about hitting my desk or something in this relatively small room feels really freeing. And that's great because I don't often get to do that. And the other thing I'll just mention quickly is I can't believe that's all running. Like a Vive, which is heavy already on specs, is running off of a GTX 760 and an i5 CPU.
Wow.
And encoding and streaming at the same time. And it's working grand. Like, the fact that that's even possible a couple years ago, no way you'd be able to get OBS. OBS would be choking all over the place. And the games run flawlessly. Like, I was playing Beat Saber Expert Plus, like, really good, really good. So I don't know. There's been
But-
software tweaks all over, but I'm surprised at that combination that works.
But does it run Crysis in far packs?
It definitely doesn't run Crysis. Like that PC will not take Crysis. But I'm
now you just
very
need a-
happy. Heaven's Gates, very happy.
Now you just need a headset for the bathroom, right? So you can just chill in the bath.
Oh, that's the
Bulletproof
Oculus
headset.
Go, Mike. That goes everywhere.
Oh, okay. You don't need to set up one of those
no. Oh,
contraptions like
no.
that guy Zach did last week with the shower.
That was amazing. I have to say, the guy who did the week of VR or whatever, great.
You should tweet Oculus asking like, hey, I want to use the Quest in my bath, and is it water resistant? Or if not, could you please just add that real quick, because it's important for a lot of people.
Oh, okay, wait. You were introduced on this podcast and every podcast as the Oracle, Nathie. So how many years will it be before we have a waterproof headset?
The thing is, why do you need a Quest in the bath? Because you only need 3 DOF. It's not like you've got like a jacuzzi bath or something you can swim around in. Like, you're not going to go anywhere.
Some people do. You ever seen Notch behind Minecraft? You seen his freaking San Francisco Bay pool that's going out to the horizon? Some people need that.
We're not quite there yet.
This is the freedom of the Quest. You can sit on the toilet and you just do your thing at the top of the Mount Everest.
That's Rowdy's bag, doing things on the toilet.
what I do.
That's the sales point.
Anyway, we're going way off topic here.
Yes,
Let me
sorry.
introduce Rowdy. Let's get on with the show. So this guy, he's been bitten by a mutant fish. He's recovered cocaine from a crashed plane, and he's been slung in a prison cell, all in a week's work for our resident Rowdy guy. How are you doing, dude? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I would count that as my average week.
Average week for you. Yeah.
An average week. Yeah. I left the suit behind in next to the pilot in Payday 2. So I'm
How did your
back in
wedding
my
go?
regular comfy little sweaters. Yeah, feels good.
How did the wedding go? Was it good?
It was boring. No.
They had no VR. It was so
Yeah,
boring.
no VR. I just had to dance and talk to girls the entire evening. Ugh.
Sounds so lame. Okay, so in today's show, we've got a busy show for you all. We're going to be diving headfirst into the specs of the newly announced HoloLens 2 from Microsoft. I'll be talking about a vibrating accessory to take your VR experience to another level.
can't
Of
believe
course,
you did
it's the
that.
ProTube ForceTube. We'll be talking about that. Zim's going to be giving you the lowdown on the latest releases this week. And then finally, we'll be checking out Boneworks, which is an amazing experience coming soon that's pushing the limits of what's possible in VR. Very exciting indeed. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week and their highlight of the week. And of course, first up is Nathie, stepping up to the plate.
Well, this is gonna be an anticlimactic moment, but I really haven't played anything.
Wait, wait, I'm going to expose you now.
Okay, sure, go for it.
Because me and you played tooth games this week together.
Yeah, okay, we did. Yeah, we played Firewall Zero Hour
Yes?
and Dig Wild 2.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know, which one do you want me to highlight, Mike? What do you think is worth it?
Which one was your favorite?
That's a good one. I honestly like the conversations we had while we were playing Dig Weld were amazing, I would say. But the firewall community is just awesome. I would say it was really fun to dive into that title. It's a tactical shooter, by the way. You could say it's like a little bit like Rainbow Six, but then without jumping through windows and doing crazy stuff that you can't do in VR just yet. Okay, it's gonna come soon. You can just jump through your floor and surprise your enemies. But for now, that's not gonna happen. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. But again, not because of the gameplay, I would say, but more because of the community, because of the players. It's just fun to talk and not take everything too serious. And the new updates were super nice. Spent some money on some upgrades for my weapons, and I do understand why it's still one of the most played shooters on PlayStation VR. I would say PC doesn't even have such a good shooter on PC. I mean, Pavlov is nice, and Onward, Contractors, etc. they are solid titles, but I haven't seen anything tactical that really nailed it. I think Breach It was once that early access project that I thought was super cool, but sadly most developers who announce their shooters don't have a long-term vision and just throw something out there. I'm sure that Wardens was once this game everyone was talking about. I'm not sure if anyone is still playing it. Could be a ghost town. I don't know. I haven't checked it out in a while, but Mike, you did, right? You checked it out. Is it still? Are there still people?
Yeah, it's a big thriving community there for sure. Yeah.
Okay, then I will take my words back right here. But honestly, I haven't seen any tactical shooter like Firewall Zero Hour on PC. Actually, they should just port it to PC, make it cross-platform. I would totally be in for that.
I would love that as well. Agreed. Yeah, but like I think the thing is we played a lot of Firewall and we had a lot of fun. Like I was a bit of a noob at it, but the community carried us, which was nice of them. Very kind.
Yeah.
But the one thing we found was that you spend almost as much time in a game than you do in the menu system waiting for the next game. Yeah. And like I would really like it if they just had 3 rapid rounds and then you wait for the next 3 rounds.
Yeah.
How have they not addressed that? Because remember when you and I, Mike, went into this 3.5 months ago, it was the same. It was the same thing, and that was like the number one thing that Reddit was shouting for was please address the game proportion of time that you're spending. And if it's still the issue, that's the Achilles heel of the game, because the game's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously Frank is our front man, our PR expert from First Contact now. So I told him, I said, hey, Frank, fix this. Whether he'll listen or not, who knows. But if Firewall, even despite those niggles, it's still a solid shooter for sure.
Yes.
I would also say, like, if you're looking for like a tactical kind of game, shooter, Onward is still, like, I think maybe the best one out there across all platforms in terms of tacticality.
Yeah, but I mean tactical in a way where you have to breach into something and where you have to put, I don't know, C4 on the door or the walls and use all kinds of like scanners to look through walls, just like Rainbow Six. Everyone has their own special ability. I haven't really seen something like that just yet.
Yeah.
And that's why you should get a PlayStation VR.
And it is. It's lacking on.
And PC doesn't have that.
Yeah, PC doesn't have it. The trouble is that in 2D game space, Pancake Gamers, they got loads of options. I mean, it's not like
it's also a hard thing to develop. I mean, like if you look at Rainbow Six Siege, for example, dude, if you can nail those mechanics in VR, you're like an end boss. You're like a level 100 Elon Musk, basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's find out what Zim's been playing this week. What have you been playing in your new sort of VR Vive man cave room?
Oh, well, that's probably a different answer to my highlight. So what have I been playing in that? It is one point I did want to make, which is I've been Beat Sabering it like crazy, really, along with a bunch of other games, just to see what would work. The game that underperformed, again, on a 760, and, look, I did all kinds of things. Space Pirate Trainer, all these games that have been out for a long time and they're kind of classics. The only one that really struggled was actually Windlands. Windlands really was choking a little bit in terms of some of the scenes, but they're very high poly, and that's the reason for it. But Beat Saber, I learned something. Having done Beat Saber, my audience kicked up and said, Zim, now you get to try all the different grips. And I said, what the hell are you talking about, different grips? So I did notice this, and there's quite a stark difference between a Vive wand and obviously the Oculus projectile, and actually to help you swing without the mass at the end with the Vive kind of cup holder, people grip the controller, like a claw, S shape, B shape. There's all these different things. There's a great visual guide that someone shared with me on the internet to like 8 or 9 different Beat Saber grip styles, and I didn't even know this was a thing. And now I kind of feel like I can turn my nose up at people who don't know this. But if you didn't know it, it's definitely something to think about, because things like Thrill of the Fight was probably the first Vive game where they took the they took the controllers and they turned them sideways so that you were holding them in a way that would feel better for making punches. And then I later adopted that to like Box VR, and it was more comfortable that way. So if you don't think about it, you can change your default grip and still play these games. And so I'm going to try that out. But the game I wanted to talk about, which we piped up about last week, is Honor and Duty D-Day, which was the PSVR release. And It's a lovely little indie game, 4 maps. It was relatively underpopulated on launch day, and I think it's because it was totally hidden in the store. Only if people had seen it on Reddit would they have known. So hopefully more people understand. Played it. It's like Battlefield 1942 again. Frankly, it's World War II. There are totally operational tanks. You can climb into a tank, get in the gunner seat. There's literally periscope you put your eye up to and all that kind of stuff. And there's like 3 roles to drive this tank. Like you can't single man it and do all the bits. You need a team. You need a crew. And then there's cars zipping by. The car drive mechanic allows you to pull out a pistol, steer your car at the same time, and be like blasting as you're going. So like literally I'm standing there like on this little precipice, and this whole team of dudes packed in this little car come running at me, all gunning at me, and it gives you some really good feelings. And this is an indie title for a tenner, so definitely if you haven't thought about it or seen it, I would say absolutely check it out. I'm going to be checking it out tomorrow again just to see, has it grown that little snowball community around it now. It definitely deserves it. But if you're a Battlefield fella or lady, absolutely don't miss it. It's called Honor and Duty D-Day. It's a weird name.
In the chat, someone says Honor and Duty is really cool, except I got into it and was checking it out and got instantly killed. And then I looked at the person running by, and it was Zim Tuck 5. Also, maybe the reason why not a lot of people played it is because Apex Legends was for some odd reason, on the PlayStation VR section.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah, but it of course isn't a VR title, and it also doesn't have any support for it, but maybe there was the competition getting in. I think it was just a bug, but
yeah.
So just a quick question about this game. Does it use the DualShock or Move controllers or aim controller?
It uses the aim controllers, what I played. I didn't try the others. Nice. I think there is Move controller support as well, but out of the box, the aim controller support worked really well.
Awesome.
And the only other thing I wanted to say about the game was, obviously for a cheap price, it's worth it. It's worth a shot.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, nice, cool. Okay then. What about you then, Rowdy? What have you been up to this week?
Yeah, I'll quickly go over the chat as well because they've been posting some comments as well. They said, for example, Eric Hartley said that he played Visp, which is a virtual spaceport. He found it very enjoyable. It was like a space station building, like the one in the Valve Knuckles demo, but more like a full-fledged kind of game. I've seen some videos of that. I haven't played it yet myself. Then I also saw that Campo675 has had a bad injury that has kept him out of virtual reality, and he stepped now into VR for the first time in long, and he needs to get his VR legs once again.
Wow, what injury takes you out of VR? I'd like to know more if you're willing to share it in the chat.
Welcome back. We get that soon. Yeah.
And then Paradise Decay played Titan Slayer 2. Really impressed with it. A lot better than what I was expecting. Rallo played PC2 DCS. Xing the Land Beyond I see as well. There was VR Bug who also played Beat Saber Skyrim and Cat Sorted VR. Love to know more about that game.
What was that name, Rowdy? Cats.
Cat Sorted. But I know we talked not that long about like a dog sorting game with the. I don't know if you were there back then, Zim, because it was like a game that was like going to release in the next week. And
I must have missed that. Yeah.
It looked really bad.
It was on the Tower of Pizza level of quality.
Yeah. Temple of Pizza. Let's not get the name wrong.
Sorry.
I think the best comment I'm seeing right now is that Real played Fallout 76 with Farpax.
Oh.
Oh,
come on! Do not pump Vorpex, please.
No comment. I'm actually drinking out of a. Well.
And then what I played this week, because it was funny because Nathie started talking about shooters. I actually dove back into Pavlov this week to go and check it out together with a buddy of mine, user ID, and I wanted to try out the TTT maps. I don't know if you guys know the TTT maps.
Terrorist Town? Trouble in Terrorist Town?
It's Trouble in Trader Town or Trouble in Terrorist Town, like depending on like the mode that you play, I guess. And it's legit, I think, one of the most fun I've ever had in virtual reality, just because it gets so claustrophobic and hectic and so hilariously fun. You don't trust anyone in the end anymore, but you're all having like such a good laugh. It was such a great time, and the community of Pavlov it's so big still. It's amazing to see. Like I think I started a game, just a lobby, like people waiting for not even in game. I just started the lobby, and my friend hadn't even joined yet, and it was already half full. And like 5 minutes later, the entire lobby was full, and we all jumped into the game, like a match of I think like 10 players or something, and we just had like the best time ever. I had really a lot of fun. I played Minecraft in Pavlov, since they have custom maps. They had a TTT
that's
map
how you played it.
of Minecraft. Yeah, it was hilarious. Like also like the amount of stuff that you get in there in the Minecraft, you can actually start crafting and start like getting blocks out and opening doors, and you have different kind of scanners, and you can get like teleporting tools, and there's so much more to this game that like first met the eye. Like when I played it, I don't know how long ago I played it, but there's been so much stuff that has been made by the community there.
How do you get access to it? Is it just like the Steam Workshop method?
Yeah, it's a Steam Workshop tool. Yeah.
Right.
You can just subscribe to the maps, and then you can go and jump into them. I mean, you just need to select the right mode for TTT, and it loads it completely custom as well. So you have like jailbreak mods, and like there's so much stuff in this game now. It's pretty much endless content.
Yeah. I got to get back into those GoldenEye maps. Those really. I never did them.
I have an entire set of like Halo maps that I played in there, like the actual like Beaver Creek and like all of those, and like the Counter-Strike maps. I used to play them all with like with Viper, just going back into Halo and like play like the theme songs of Halo in the background. It was hilarious.
Nice, man. It's amazing to see like a game like that thrive still after years after being released, you know, and such a small dev team as well.
I think the reason why it's doing so well is because of the mods, because there is no other shooter out there. Like Onward is pretty like serious. I don't think any other shooter title on PC has a workshop.
No,
like that
sort of sandbox feel about it, where you can really customize it to the way you want it. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But no, that's awesome. That is totally awesome. So this week I played like, you know, a lot of shooters. I've been testing out this ForceTube, which we're going to talk about more later on. Obviously, like I said, I played with Nathie. We played some Dick Wild and some Firewall. But the one thing I want to highlight this week is a free experience called Curfew. Now, you can check this out. It's on the Oculus Store. You can check this out on Oculus Rift. Like I said, it's completely free. And basically, it's a tie-in VR experience to a new TV show that's being aired here in the UK. It's being developed by Sky TV. And the premise of the show is that there's an outbreak somewhere and that the government is shutting everything down, so there's a curfew in place. However, you can street race your way to victory out of the city and break free. So it's basically like The Walking Dead meets like the Fast and Furious. It's a stupid idea for a show, but they've actually made a legit cool VR experience. So I tried it out, sort of had very low expectations, but came away pretty impressed. So basically, you're in the passenger seat of one of these race cars that is going to do this like illegal street race through the streets and try and escape out of the city. And you've got a driver next to you who's your like companion. And the textures and the lighting detail of the cockpit of the car and your driver is really, really impressive. And, you know, the whole scenery around it is very well done. So straight away, you're kind of in that seat and you're like, this is pretty cool. And then unlike normal movie tie-in experiences where you're just a bystander for everything going on, you actually get involved and you get to interact with the environment. You get to sort of choose some dialogue paths using the radio. So you can kind of interact with the story a little bit, and then you can like dig around the glove box and pick some items up in the cockpit of the car as well. It's around sort of 15 minutes long, and it does get a little bit intense near the end, but I would say it's definitely worth checking out as a one-time deal only, and just thought, yeah, that was kind of cool. And I won't spoil anything, but the ending is very, very
It sounds so similar to the heist. It's like almost one-on-one when you tell it like that. Yeah, the heist, PlayStation VR Worlds, the heist.
It looks really.
I never tried it.
Looks really dark.
Does it take place almost like the same story here.
Yeah.
Also, talking about like fast cars, when I was surfing the internet, I found out that there is an actual Need for Speed VR experience.
There is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's for Gear VR.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Meh.
It's very old, but I don't know.
Yeah.
VR.
So, yeah, If you want to check out an experience and yeah, just sort of be a bystander and just sort of enjoy something 15 minutes, totally free, check out Curfew on the Oculus Store. So let's move into some quick news this week, and let's start off the show with some news about the Oculus Quest. Now, this is pretty interesting because this week, Chris Pruitt, who is developer relations at Oculus, posted on the official Oculus blog about how submitting games to the Oculus Store for Quest will be very different from what it is currently with the Rift. And he stated, I quote, in addition to making great VR headsets, we feel a strong responsibility to make the Quest VR content ecosystem successful for both developers and players. The Rift ecosystem has taught us that VR players respond to titles that have polish, substance, whether they're built by AAA game studios or talented indies. And he's hit the nail on the head there, you know. I think what they're trying to say here is basically they're going to raise the quality bar for application submissions from developers. So this will prevent the situation we're in right now with the Oculus Rift, particularly with the amount of just really low quality titles that are clogging up the store right now. And I think the problem is these low quality titles tend to sort of bury the true gems that are out there, so they're much harder to find, which is a real shame. So I think this is only a good thing. But what do you guys think of this?
It's a double-edged sword, Mike. It is a double-edged sword. I mean, anytime you bring in any kind of curation, you're stifling indie developers a lot of the time. You know, you're making that road from, I have a great game design idea. It might look like crap. Even something like Beat Saber, starting off, if it wasn't so, let's say, obviously polished and well designed, let's take it back a few notches in its development cycle. Could it have been buried behind a curation wall? So I personally, although no one likes going into Steam and scrolling through 6 pages of VR nonsense that are really small indie projects that maybe shouldn't even be live yet. It does make me nervous, only for indie developers,
I think you're right, and on one side it's bad news for developers. On the other side, it hurts the sales of the Quest potentially. That's why I would suggest bring back Oculus Share and then let people have a spotlight there and let the community vote on that, or actually give them point them into the right direction at least. But yeah, I think Oculus should continue to fight against shovelware. You can clearly see that right now with the Quest coming out soon. They kind of stopped focusing on the Rift, and you can just see all the shovelware just coming in. Like for the last few weeks, I haven't seen much interesting popping up there, and for a consumer, it's just hard to find what they are really looking for and what they should buy, because you could get a refund, but that's like something you don't want to worry about when you get a title, and that's why I always give PlayStation the props for having such a nice ecosystem where honestly you don't have to worry about anything you buy there. There is rarely anything you will see in front of you that is just not as good, because the way their store filters everything is just super nice and tight. So yeah, I think they should continue to fight off shovelware, but in the right way. And I think Oculus Share in some way could help developers, because developers are also there to learn from their experience, and if you don't give them the space to do that, then you will never get that Beat Saber game.
I mean, I'm 10 years past it, but I was going to say that when I heard about the Quest first, like after having looked at the Go, it was like the first time when I thought, oh, I should go learn Unity. I should go learn Unity and I should go build an app. And there's university students out there, just budding developers who would have done that. But if there isn't that, chance to get your money back, so to speak, maybe they'll decide not to.
I'm a little bit on the other end of the sword here. Maybe I actually am not that convinced it's such a good thing, mainly because the amount of content that is there is not enough, I think, to keep a platform afloat. If it's, for example, the PC market, of course, then you can do that because there's so many people working on titles. And I'm a little bit apprehensive at this because it might scare new developers off into putting so many hours of work in there, not knowing if they'll be able to release it on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Chat himself tweeted on this as well. I don't really know his stance on this, but he said this. He said the experimentation on new hardware is always interesting. Even having lived with 5 prototypes the longest, outside of people like what Kabibo did, really opened up new ideas, and the Quest has so many new possibilities. So I kind of I understand what you guys are saying, but at the same time, I'm a little bit like worried that the content that is there is not enough to keep.
The thing is, I think, like, if you think about it historically of like console releases, like when the Xbox One came out or PlayStation 4 came out, there was only a handful of games that released with these consoles. And I think as long as you keep that quality bar high from the outset, then you're gonna trust the ecosystem. You're gonna trust that they're gonna bring you quality titles. And I think as well, like I know that there's a concern there that they're shutting developers out, where they are addressing that, because don't think that they're gonna allow a developer to spend months or if not years on a game and then just shut the door on their face. They're not planning to do that. They don't want that either. What they're proposing is that if you're a developer and you have an idea for a game, is that you pitch them the idea, you pitch them the concept of the game and why it stands out and why it can add value to their audience or their customers. And the thing is,
that's an interesting to do. I mean, I come from research, and we have that concept like embedded through everything, where you need to pitch your research project before it gets approved. And there's a lot of problems and issues with that as well, because when funding is limited, it's always hard and difficult to get funding. And I don't know, I'm really on, like, I'm gonna wait and see how this goes, but I hope they have a very open mind about this.
The one good thing I think about it, though, is, Mike, I think it tells us that they're confident in their initial lineup. That's what I read into it. We have a software library of probably 50 odd titles. You know, they're strong. We're strong out of the gates, and we have content coming the next 6 months, so we can put the gates up. You know, if they didn't have that, they wouldn't be putting the gates up.
We have a few good comments on point as well. We have Short Power 24 and Twitch saying, "I wonder if this will spawn a third-party distribution platform for people to give away or sell apps for people to sideload."
Quite possibly, quite possibly.
And then also, I Am Roots in YouTube was saying that apparently, I can't confirm this, but he said that now PlayStation has also opened the store for early access. So they're actually going the opposite route a little bit into like making titles in early access available.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Makes sense. I like to end it here. It's like it's important for Oculus to cross a line, because otherwise, if people buy the Quest, they only have to play one bad experience or maybe 2. They're not coming back. Okay, then this headset, and you can say whatever you want about it, that it's epic and awesome, it just ends up on a shelf, and they're not going to use it again. So it's like one chance, one opportunity, and if you screw it up with the content, and you take the risk of a developer making something that is very creative, and there should be a playground for developers to test their stuff in. Okay, I agree. But if it's public on the store, there is no way back. And then you also don't get your customers back if it's bad.
I think Yaroslav Beck, one of the developers from Beat Saber, he put it brilliantly in an acceptance speech when he accepted a DICE award for Beat Saber this week. And he basically said, it's so important for developers to really polish and bring quality titles to VR, because there's so many people out there that don't believe that VR is the future, but we do believe that VR is the future. Exactly. And I think that is just exactly sums up nicely kind of what Oculus are doing here, is that they just want the best for their platform. And personally, I think it's a good thing, but whether it will be in the long term, we don't know for sure.
I agree with that, and I agree with also the point that the launch titles, they need to be rock solid, proper, but later on maybe open it up then for other people to have some
to a certain point.
I'm pretty sure after GDC we'll have much more information about the launch lineup for sure. So I'm just gonna have to wait until the end of the month, I guess. But let's quickly move on then to a new Spiderman experience that we might be getting access to in VR.
Beware, Spider-Man Homecoming 2.
I can understand why you might be concerned. And Nathie's referring to the previous Spider-Man experience called Spider-Man Homecoming, obviously to tie in with the movie. It was
one
like
of the most disappointing experiences I've ever had in virtual reality.
Exactly, the most anticlimactic VR experience you can ever have. Basically, you get all suited up, You start slinging some webs around. You stand on a crane. You think, yeah, I'm going to become Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Swing through the city, and then it just ends. It's the worst ending ever.
Hang on, wait. I got to defend it a little bit because I liked that experience only for the web slinging physics were great. That's all I'm going to say.
There was no web slinging. You
No.
Shooting, you mean?
It was done.
This triggers me.
So yeah, this new experience is to tie in, obviously, of course, with the new movie, which is called Far From Home. And this is being developed in conjunction with Sony and Nokia. And this was something that they demoed at Mobile World Congress. So we don't know if this is going to be coming to home for everyone to try out ourselves, or if it was just an exclusive demo just for that show. But basically, it looks like what we wanted is in this demo. So basically, they're swinging between the buildings through Manhattan. And this is actually a multiplayer demo. I don't know if you guys were aware of that. But basically what they were using was this Nokia's new 5G technology to connect two players over a multiplayer. And the aim was to race across Manhattan and beat the other player. So that's essentially what it was. But again, whether this or not will come to home users.
You've totally lost me.
Eric Hartley in the chat, who apparently has some more experience with this, and he says this new one is only still a few minutes, and you just swing down on the street, and then it ends.
Okay, so it's not any better. It's just an experience, just a tech demo, basically.
I like 5G, okay. Also 6G, great. But hey, Sony Pictures making again a Spider-Man experience. I don't really know about that. Someone else should maybe do it.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
That's my
Actually, if you look at Sony Pictures' track history record in VR titles, they've developed. They've made some of the quality ones. They're the cream of the crop. We're talking like Ghostbusters here.
Oh, Ghostbusters.
We're talking about Hotel Transylvania Popstick Edition.
But Popstick 1A, honestly, Popstick is amazing.
Dude,
at least for the Popstick itself.
Don't even get me started on that game.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
We got Spider-Man experience, so it's pretty bad. So expectations, just keep them low. But I don't know, Sony, maybe you can surprise us. Who knows?
If this one sucks again, I can't do it anymore. Like then the next one, yeah, then I'm kind of.
Just so you guys know, we've already pissed off the entire chat by talking about the non-canon version of Spider-Man because he is actually dead, and this can't have happened pre-snap. It just is not possible.
He's talking about obviously Infinity War.
I need a question answered here, Mike. What was the 5G technology that's putting multiplayer players together? I don't understand that.
Yeah, so basically they were showing that you can run a VR headset on like a mobile hotspot. Essentially, that's what this 5G is. It's a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot that's using the phone network rather than like an ISP.
Just to connect to the internet, you mean? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is, I think we're going to talk more about 5G maybe in next week's episode because I wanted to get into it a little bit more because it's all about how devices can connect to the cloud and have the computing in the cloud rather than the headsets. You could have a super lightweight headset and have all the processing power being done in the cloud, which is a really cool concept.
My headset farm Bitcoin?
No. So, but anyway, if you want a great Spider-Man simulator type game, just go and play Windlands 2. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, Mike, just before we go to the next topic here, can you just quickly say Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters.
You see, that takes longer than the actual experience, according to what
You're right. You are right. Nice
There
gag.
you go.
Yeah.
You just finished the game twice already.
Yeah, and the second part as well is equally as long. Yeah.
Yes.
Blink and you'll miss it. But let's talk about something that you might be interested in if you're a fan of VR horror games. You might be pleased to hear that the developer behind the iconic game Five Nights at Freddys is developing an official VR title. Now, these details were leaked by the ERSB ratings board, and then they were quickly removed after the leak got snapped up. But basically, this game is going to be called Five Nights at Freddys VR Help Wanted. And it seems like it's definitely going to be coming to PSVR, but we don't know if it's going to be coming to PC yet, so we'll have to wait and see for that. But the game is described as a VR puzzle horror game in which players assume the role of a repair person tasked with monitoring and repairing animatronic characters at a pizzeria. From a first-person perspective, players explore dark hallways, complete puzzles, and try to avoid menacing, malfunctioning animatronic figures. The game contains frequent screams and jump scares.
Oh, it's horrible. It is. I'll tell you. Let me tell you exactly why Five Nights at Freddy's is horrible in VR. Because when a creature jumps at you into your face, right? And I've done this. 2014, I played Five Nights at Freddy's with virtual desktop, right? I cheated the system and I did it. Not smart, because the headset, when you go to jerk, like left or right or whatever, the nose bridge that you have around your nose whacks you in the side of the face, basically. And I was bruised from it. Not that easily bruised, but and we've got other games that are horror games, but the special thing with Five Nights at Freddy's is that it's something like jumping up in your face, and so your immediate reaction is to turn away or move away so fast you can't clamp that headset on your head hard enough. So anyway,
can't look away. That's the worst part.
In related news, Mike, I wanted to mention the Team Junkfish got back to me after last week. I mentioned about Monstrum and Monstrum coming to these platforms. And they said, unfortunately, due to some technical limitations, they won't be able to port to PSVR Monstrum. So it's limited to PC for the moment.
Wait, even after your petition of like 50,000 signatures?
Exactly.
They still didn't listen to you.
Even Trump signed it. Anyway, stop.
What? No, it did? Okay.
So going back to Five Nights at Freddy's, it seems like you're going to get really up close and personal with the animatronics this time. You're not going to be locked in a room anymore. You have to go and repair them. And a bit like, remember Operation back in the day where you have to use a little pair of tweezers to get the bones out? It seems like it's going to be a bit like that. Whereas if you make a mistake, you're going to get something really bad happen to you.
Because that's like the time that you're going to be like the most focused.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be
coming. It's kind of like that scene in how is that horror title called again in VR? The black and white one, Wilson's Heart.
Wilson's Heart.
Yeah.
Little teddy bear, like chasing you.
The teddy bear.
Basically that feeling.
But that's not scary compared to that, though.
All I can say is this is going to force me to be a bad dad. I'm going to have to show this to my daughter. The last time I put her in Five Nights at Freddy's, she got so scared that the icon on the desktop, she wouldn't play Minecraft because she's like, that needs to go.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow. Next level parenting advice from Zintalk 5.
There you go.
Wow.
So the developer of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthorn, he's actually teaming up with Steel Wool Studios.
Oh.
They're previously responsible for the Ready Player One Battle for the Oasis experience.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get to play this soon. I really like this idea of this game, especially the kind of operation style, sort of getting up close to these guys would be really fun, I think. So
sounds like
looking forward.
It sounds like they're pivoting into the right space for VR. Like, I mean, that they're not just sticking with the formula and doing the easy conversion. They're actually VRifying and reconsidering what VR can bring to that title.
They should reach out to Be Haptic so you can feel them touching on your back, and then you need to turn around.
Oh man, I would do that. I want that. But yeah, they've been working on this for a long time, apparently. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be good. But if it's coming to PSVR, it's going to be good. So.
Mike, so you want robots touching you? What was this thing, Nathie? Something about Mike being a robot? What was that?
Yeah, he's a droid.
Yeah.
They're my
Powered
kind.
by 5G.
Yeah.
It's all lining up. Those facts are lining up now.
So that is all the quick news this week. So let's hand it over to Zim for the lowdown on the games releases coming out next week.
Shebang. Excellent. Well, I'm going to start this one with a freebie because I think free things are great. And this thing just dropped today. I'm just going to spend a second here to make sure I'm showing you the right thing. This is always the fun part where we're trying to make sure I don't press stop streaming.
It's like where he's multitasking. He shows his multitasking skills.
Yeah. Not in front of my wife. She'll prove me wrong every time.
It's where you can tap your head and rub your tummy at the same time.
That's impossible. Anyway.
Wait. I can't do that. It's too hard. No.
Oh. Okay. So the first title I was going to talk about this week, I'm just trying to correct something I did incorrectly there. Releases. There we go. Okay. So the first title I wanted to talk about is called SCP Blackout. There's a free demo that's just been released today. And if you like horror, given we were just talking about horror, that's what this is. It's meant to be pretty damn scary. It's a game where you are in a secret research facility. This is all sounding very Doom, by the way. You explore it, you learn, you gain access logs and do those things. SCP, by the way, stands for secure, contain, protect. We've seen a number of other VR titles with this kind of contagion-style backdrop. And the game is meant to release within the quarter, so sometime later in spring. And as you play, you can listen to Dr. Miller or Dr. Slate, each with their own motives and goals, and each choice and path you affect affects the facility and playthrough, leading to many different possible endings. Each time you play, more of the story will be uncovered, and maybe the best choices aren't the ones so obviously presented. There's definitely also a kind of a Resident Evil vibe here. I'm talking more the films than the games, with the lasers and the kind of facility that you can see. And it says, for action or fast rounds with friends, you can also try the survival game mode, where you're dropped into the full facility to explore and escape. So that one seems pretty neat. And there's I saw Volcano Mouth, who again is, I mentioned last week, was a key part of one of the bad characters in Monstrum. And I saw him flash his face at the end of this. So I don't know if they got inspired or if it's just circumstance that Volcano Mouth seems to be in that game again. I will definitely check that demo out.
What platform is it releasing on?
That's a good question. This is PCVR, so it's on Steam, available now. Go grab the demo, see if the full game is going to tickle your fancy.
And it's called SCP?
SCP Blackout. And
so scary, crappy pants, Blackout.
The same joke he just made.
Oh, he did? I didn't even see it. What? Great minds think alike, PD. Nice work, man.
The same words and everything? I hope not.
No, he replaced the first S with another word.
Oh, another word. Okay. Great. Okay, so the next title. This one is kind of tried and tested, well loved, I think, by their fans. So this game experience is Apollo 11, now launching on PSVR, and so that's launched on the 1st of March here in Europe. And unfortunately, I say this, but with a bit of a smirk, in North America, they're going to have to wait until July 25th to experience this. So for whatever reason, it's delayed in terms of the PSVR release over there. Immersive VR Education, I actually met them, went to their place in Waterford. It's kind of the largest VR firm that's there with a team of 40 plus. They've done a number of good titles, and this one for me was quite a tearjerker. It's one of those things where you're being educated as you go. You learn some things you didn't know before. There's clips from the time, and it really puts you in the cockpit. And it's interactive. It's not just a watch this 3D video happening around you. So you can actually explore with the lunar lander and do a number of other things with the landing pod. So they've really done a good job with this. And on PC, if you're looking to play the same thing, they released kind of an HD upgrade to this a couple of months back. And if you are interested in this kind of content, may I also suggest they've got a dual bundle between this and their Titanic game, which is highly rated. And the bundle for both of those is $18.99 in pounds, so roughly kind of $21, $22. That's launching on PSVR here in Europe for a cost of about £10 for just the base game, or as I said, £19 for the package.
Nice.
What was your guys' experience with kind of Titanic and Apollo? Like, if you wanted to summarize it, give your views for people, whether they should check it out or not, how would you describe that?
So Titanic, I'll start with Titanic, because I don't think I tried Apollo, but the experience where you've got the commentary from the Irish girl, she's got this amazing accent anyway that's really lovely to listen to. So if you like listening to history from lovely Irish girls, then this will be right up your street. But yeah, I really liked it. Being in that little submarine, being guided around the wreck, and hearing about the history and the stories of people that were on board the ship when it sank. Yeah, it's really great education experience. It's like watching a documentary, but being part of it, essentially.
Yeah.
Same. Can't agree more.
I think if you like the Titanic and you like to explore its wreckage more, then that's the one for you. It's not really about going back in time and walk the ship and the decks and explore all the rooms. That's Titanic Honor and Glory. And yeah, Apollo 11 HD or not the HD version. I think the HD version is on PC. Correct. And the casual version is on PlayStation VR. Or maybe it is the HD version. Who knows? I couldn't
tell. I couldn't tell if they brought the high def textures in that over. I imagine it's going to be a halfway house. Some of the things they would have brought over. But actually, like the lady who you're talking about, I met her in the flesh. Lovely lady. She did not want to take a selfie. But not everyone likes the camera, so. But she's still working there. Okay, so for my third and final highlight, this one is on PC, and this is, I love the name of this, and this is why I had to go for it, because the name is awesome. It's called Wardens of the Amber Cage. So Wardens of the Amber Cage is a bit of a action dungeon crawler multiplayer game, and this reminded me of a few other things that I've played. But I'm quite interested in this. The only thing that irks me when I look at the visuals is I see health bars everywhere, and you guys know how much I dislike health bars. But aside from the health bars, it does look like a bit of a fun dungeoning experience, multiplayer with friends kind of thing. So this is being, as I said, this was released on the 1st of March by Jem Basher Studio. And I'll just read a little bit about it. It says, become one of the heroic war mage spirits who fed their soul to the mystical amber cage and swore to keep their horrors inside from reaching reality. Fight hordes of fearsome opponents, play with up to 2 friends with or without virtual reality. So there is a cross-play here if you have a friend who doesn't have a VR headset, so that's quite attractive. And again, a lot of the bad guys and the kind of combat interactions to me look quite interesting. It almost reminds me of something like Orbis or what's that, Vanishing Realms, those games that have a real kind of RPG element. I wish they would allow you to turn off the health bars. I hope that option is in there. If it is, I will like this game probably doubly more. But quite keen on checking that out as well. So that's Wardens of the Amber Cage, and that's available for about £16. So that's roughly $20.
Nice. I like asynchronous gameplay, in VR. We've had a lot of fun playing those sort of titles in the past. Me and Nathie played, what was it, Carly and the Reaper Man and Covert together, which were great asynchronous multiplayer games. So yeah, they're really cool. I dig that concept for sure.
There you go. So that's it, Mike, for our releases this week.
Nice one. So let's get into our first topic then, and of course it is the HoloLens 2. Now, last week we were talking on the show about, this Mobile World Congress event, and it was actually happening the day after our show aired. So we didn't have any details about it, but of course it was rumored at the time that Microsoft were going to be showing off the HoloLens 2, and that is exactly what happened. And they had this amazing mixed reality demonstration on stage. So if you got to check it out, you'd have been well impressed. I think me and Nathie and Tyrell were hanging out live on Discord watching it together, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, this sort of demonstration of what can be seen with the headset on was next level. So hats off to Microsoft for that. But let's get into the specs of what we learned during the event about what the HoloLens 2 is and who it's for. So first up, it's a standalone augmented reality headset aimed at business and enterprise applications. So this isn't a consumer headset. This is solely focused on business. There isn't any sort of gaming tech demos anymore like they did with the original HoloLens. Purely business, that's it. With this headset, all the processing power comes from within the headset itself. So just like the previous HoloLens, you don't need to tether it to a PC. It's all done from the headset itself. Now, at the heart of this headset is a Snapdragon 850 processor from Qualcomm, which is running sort of Microsoft Windows, of course. And the big thing here, and the big takeaway from the event, of course, and it's what everyone was asking for, was an increased field of view. Now, this was what we were talking about on last week's show. The biggest problem with the original HoloLens is that it had roughly around 30 degrees field of view. So when you looked at, a hologram, you could basically, when you moved your head, the hologram would clip in and out of your view, which is undesirable, breaks the immersion. So what they've actually done with the HoloLens 2 is they touted that they doubled the field of view. That's not actually the case. It's kind of like more around 50 degrees now field of view, and it may not sound like a huge improvement, but it is a really big deal, because this is a lot harder to achieve in AR than it is in VR right now, because obviously in VR we use traditional display panels. In AR they're using wizardry with like mirrors and projecting things straight into your eyeballs. It's really next level stuff. So yeah, this is going to make the headset way more practical for actual real-world use, which is great. In terms of the display technology that they've integrated in this new headset, they now say that the display is around what would perceive to be around a 2K resolution per eye. So this is a big step up again from the original, because the original was around 720p resolution, roughly, perceived display clarity. So big improvement in terms of what it looks like when you're actually looking at these holograms. And to make the headset more comfortable as well, they've invested a lot of time and effort into, scanning like thousands of people's heads to basically make the most comfortable headset they could possibly make. Because, what they want with this headset is for people on the front line, the working force of the world, to wear these headsets for their working day, basically. So that's their plan. So they scanned all these people's heads. They made this headset really balanced. All the processing power is at the back. Obviously, the lenses and everything are at the front. And they've used carbon fiber in its structure to keep the weight down as well. So they've really used some fancy materials in this.
Oh, yeah.
They've also got full hand tracking. So just like the first one, you can interact with menus by using gestures. But this seems way more natural this time around, with tactile buttons, sliders that you can grab and slide along. And it looks really, really cool. You can pinch and manipulate objects to resize them as well. So they've really sort of gone to town with making the UI very user-friendly. So anyone can put this headset on and understand the sort of basic UI mechanics without having to like read a manual, basically. This is a really cool feature. I love this. There's cameras in the headset that are facing backwards towards your eyes, and this is used for iris recognition for security. So you can actually sign into this headset just by putting it on and it's scanning your eyeballs. Now, this kind of reminds me of that scene of what was it, Demolition Man, when they had the iris scanner in that movie. So hopefully no one takes your eyeballs out and uses this to break into your headset, but it seems very next level, which is really cool. They also use these cameras, by the way, for auto IPD adjustment to make sure you've got the best possible clarity when you're using this device. Another key feature of this headset is that it's got a new flip-up design. So when you're not using the device, you can just simply flip it up and have a more sort of natural conversation with colleagues and real people around you without looking like some sort of cyborg from the future, which is really nice. And then also, on top of that, Tim Sweeney came on stage from Epic Games and said that they're going to be supporting this new platform with the Unreal Engine. So although it's unlikely we're going to get any games for this device, the platform is there ready for it if people want to develop games for this platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the specs of the HoloLens 2, really in a nutshell. I don't know about you guys. What did you think about this new headset?
All I can say is that I am ridiculously jealous of the kids of the future. That they get to use this kind of technology to learn, while all we had was boring books.
Yeah, screw you, future kids.
Back-breaking boring books. Man, I used to just carry like 6-7 textbooks back and forth, and then they're like worried about the kids breaking their backs. Like, what do you carry these days? You're gonna have like the raddest ever like sunglasses that show you everything that you want to see, and maybe more. Looks great. Looks very comfortable.
Dinosaur.
Yeah.
My
Future
reaction
episodes of the show will be like, yeah, you damn pesky kids, you don't know what you had to do when we were kids. We felt like very old men.
Yeah, I don't know, but like the ergonomics is the thing that excites me the most. Like looking at the headset, it just looks like they've pared it back just enough to get it like looking sleek, and then paired with all that technology that kind of makes the friction of entry and use of the device seems really good. And I think, comparing to the first HoloLens, it's the right level of upgrade. And to be honest, it's on par with what my expectations were for this. So the fact that, some people got really bent out of shape about the field of view being misrepresented and stuff, I'm not on board with that. Like, it happens, it happens in all walks of life, including graphics cards and CPUs and stuff. Like, people just hone in on a number. And of course they're gonna, some marketing people will choose to kind of make that accident on purpose. But whatever, it's part of the game.
So funny was that after the HoloLens 2 got announced and they, showed it off, Magic Leap said like, "Oh, but we also have some interesting stuff to share soon."
Yeah,
so, they were just waiting for them to, do their thing and then just throw out a tweet to get people hyped for their stuff. It seems like they feel like there is a lot of competition. Well, I think they could just, operate next to each other right now. And Magic Leap has a way different approach in terms of what they want to do.
Absolutely.
HoloLens, as you said, HoloLens was a very serious thing this time. Well, Magic Leap is more kind of like hipster in a way, with all these games.
Completely.
And both of them, both ways work fine, I would say, because you do want people to look at your, product in a way.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And the thing
I
is,
want
like,
a whale.
you want the whale. With Microsoft, with the HoloLens, like before they announced this new headset, they'd struck a deal with the US military, and they're going to be supplying HoloLens
about
to
that.
the military. And this is kind of good and bad in a way. Like, you know, they've got a big client there that's going to have lots of money to keep funding and pushing this technology further. But a lot of the Microsoft employees themselves were very upset about this because they were like, well, you know, we didn't know when we were developing the HoloLens that this was going to be used for
Military
war
applications.
And we don't know if we feel like ethically that we've been kind of betrayed a little bit here because we didn't know that this was the end goal for Microsoft. So it's kind of interesting debate going on there.
At the same time, I mean, I'm going to play a little bit the devil's advocate. If you're making this kind of technology, I mean, look at any kind of future war movie. I mean, they developed Halo. Like, you know, like everything there is like AR and like, I mean, not to say like, oh, we had no idea this technology. Of course, technology is going to be, every technology that is being developed will eventually have an application kind of military purposes.
Yeah.
Well, I think in this case, like being transparent is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're totally right, Nathie, in that, you know, it seems like HoloLens and Magic Leap, they're sort of, they're crossing over, of course, but they're targeting different markets, which is great. But they're also, it's cool to have these two big players in the space as well. I think, you know, the years to come are going to be very exciting when these two sort of duke it out for the sort of consumer version of this headset.
What I also thought was super cool is that you can mod the HoloLens and have, for example, a helmet attached to it or something else.
Oh yeah, the safety helmet. That was really cool in the demonstration. I agree. Yeah. But I mean, they're really thinking about like, how do we sell this to someone who's running a building or construction firm? How do we sell this to a car manufacturer? And I actually love their intro video that we ran. I think it really portrays HoloLens and for someone who doesn't understand like AR, like if you've heard about VR, you're likely to be pulled down the path of like, oh, it's for gaming. You know, it's probably not for me. But it shows AR like in a medical scene, right? And I think you can definitely see these being used in that application. You know, and it makes it very clear the path for AR now.
Yeah.
Go on.
I think the best thing of all was when they were showing these holograms of people and they were talking together in one space. And they said that you could use a Windows MR headset and join someone in the same room. So that's what I was waiting for. Like AR and VR coming together for the first time and have this cross-platform feature. This is like one of the first times in history VR and AR are like meeting each other in a virtual space.
Yeah, you called it.
Space.
You called it because you said it on last week's podcast, and then when that hit, I was equally enthused by this idea of the kind of the workspace social piece where I don't have to get on a plane. I can just put on my headset and I can literally have a meeting with, Bob from California is going to join us today, right? And he's sitting in California in a Rift or whatever, and he's joined us and we're just chatting away. But it'll be interesting to see if there's any walls. In other words, certain competitors of Microsoft's who are blocked from that. You know, in other words, like Vive, yes, Rift, no, or I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But you know, like you said, you know, Zim, you can see that in the future, you know, your boiler repairman that comes around to fix your boiler, he's going to be wearing one of these, or your car mechanic, he's going to be wearing one of these. You know, it's going to be giving him
even better. You put them on and you have a car mechanic that says like through the AR you need to get this there, this then, so you don't need to come to location anymore.
Exactly. You know, I built an engine in VR. You know, how hard can it be?
What about AA, right? Like you get the cheap version of roadside assistance, and it's like, all right, put the headset on, hey, dial the people, and like, all right, pull this plug, and all that kind of stuff. You know. That's
your membership. Yeah, maybe. But if you're interested, if you're a business and you're interested in investing in AR, then this is going to be released for $3,500 US. I think for the amount of technology that is in this headset, and it is really cutting edge stuff, that is a bargain, I think, you know, for this headset. So it'd be really interesting to see the applications and the sort of use cases for this headset in the very near future.
Or got a monopoly subscription as well, right?
What did you say about the subscription? From Campo675 as well. He says that there are so many jobs that can manage with VR. Imagine how much less cities can be congested with traffic, just for people that don't have to travel to their work. Because they can do it.
But like you said, Nathie, you touched on it very briefly. I was disappointed that we didn't get any Windows MR headsets announced there. I was really waiting for the HP Copper to be shown. The code name.
Oh yes, exactly. Standalone Samsung Odyssey.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Oh, and by the way, for those that are interested, Big Apple Buddy screwed me over again, so I didn't get.
Oh no!
No way.
Yeah, they did. They said they'd hit their limit with ordering stuff from Samsung, so they couldn't get me one. So I'm done with them. We've broken our relationship. It ended on bad terms. We're never going to talk again. But let's move on to the ForceTube. Let's talk about this. This is really cool. So this is the latest product from the team at ProTube. Now, if you're not familiar with ProTube, they've been making VR gun stocks for a while, and they've sold over 5,000 stocks to date. You can use these stocks no matter what setup you've got: Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, Windows MR, and they're also developing stocks for both the Valve Knuckles and, interestingly, Oculus Quest. So this is going to be next level. This product right here, you can see in the background. I'll turn it on and get it ready to set up to sort of give you a bit of a live demo. But basically, this is the ForceTube, and it's a VR gun stock with this module on the back of it. So I don't know if you can see this. I'll try and get it as close to the camera as I can.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
This has got like a sliding mechanism at the back, and it's got 2 rumble motors built into it as well. And this adds sort of haptic feedback when you're playing VR shooters. When this is up against your shoulder, you can feel the recoil of each shot in game. And I've been testing it out this week in games like Onward, Pavlov, Contractors, and Wardust. Onward and Wardust, they've got native support for the game, so very simple to set up. Contractors and Pavlov, you need to tweak it around a little bit, start it in Windows compatibility mode.
Wait. When you say native support, is that it actually, when it fires, it will do, or is that still audio based?
No, none of this is audio based, by the way.
None of it, yeah.
None of it is audio. Even the workaround isn't audio based.
Okay.
But yeah, so the native support, it works basically on, depending on what weapon you're using, the rate of fire. So I'll show you some demos of that very shortly. But also the workaround feature intercepts the haptic feedback signal for the controllers and uses that to power this. And basically, you'd be surprised how well it works. And it works because there's 2 different frequencies. So it picks up the 2 different frequencies. When it's a high frequency for the slider, it'll activate that with a gunshot. If it's just rumble, then you'll just get rumble from the device. So let me just quickly fire up the demo and show you exactly what it feels like and sounds like, because it gets pretty loud. This is going to be really fun. So basically what I've got in the demo is a bunch of different weapons to simulate. So I need to hold this down because this obviously will be up against your shoulder. So this is a sniper rifle. That's a single shot. So each time I'm pulling the trigger, that's what I'm getting. So I'm getting rumble and that hitting my shoulder. That's where it would be.
The audio listeners are going to really appreciate this part of the. This is fun. This is fun. Okay.
I might have to mute this in the audio version.
It's okay. It's actually fine. Coming across fine.
So this is a submachine gun, a P90.
Sounds like paintball.
Yeah. This is an M16. And then this is a PKM, so this is like a light machine gun.
I have a very dirty mind, Mike, and the girlfriends and wives of the world are really getting excited right now.
But yeah, this is a really cool piece of kit. Like I say, I've been testing it out all week. Been having a lot of fun with this. Their Kickstarter campaign for this product has literally just started. It opened last night. If you're interested in backing this on Kickstarter, you can do right now. It's around €200 for the module itself. So if you've got a VR stock already, you've got one from ProTube or another one from somewhere else, you can just buy the module and upgrade your stock to this module, and that's going to work. Or you can buy the complete kit for around €270, which will include the whole lot.
Man, I want to know, did you ever use the bipod? Because that looked exciting.
I never used the bipod. No, I think it's a badass accessory though. Like if you're into sniping,
it's really useful.
You're going to be like lying prone on your floor and having a lot of fun with that for sure.
And the magnetic mounts seemed like in your video, I watched your video, they seem to work very well, but I thought I was expecting more of sliding it into a cup. It looks like it's more of like a side attachment. Here, I'll zoom in on you, Mike. Show it again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got these ridges on the magnetic mount, so it stops you, even if you're putting a lot of force forward and backwards on it, it doesn't come off. It's only when you pull it sideways off the magnet that it actually comes off. And obviously this cup with the controller comes off all in one. and then you just use it, and then you just clip it back on again. So you don't have to take the controllers out of the cups. You just take the cups off the rails, basically.
I still got a question.
Sure.
How does it work with like the recoil in the game? Like, is it like adjusted a little bit so that it's more like the real recoil that you have, or does it still do like the automatic one from like the game itself? Or
So it's totally in tune with the weapon that you're using. So I was using a lot in Onward, like a single shot M16, for example, and it would just kick each time I pulled the trigger. Whereas if you swapped over in another game to an automatic rifle, then you'd get the multiple kicks as you're shooting, so it would continue.
I mean, more like in the game itself, like because when you shoot, like your weapon also jerks up and down depending on the. Does it impact that as well?
No. Like the recoil when you're holding it is not enough to really like go like this. You're just like kind of vibrating a little bit, but it's that feeling in your shoulder that adds to the immersion because you feel more connected to the experience and you're feeling the shots.
Very
like
exciting.
I'm not really a big shooter guy, certainly not in the competitive scene. I was playing a lot with bots using this, but I was having like a ton of fun, especially with the new Onward solo missions. I didn't even know they had solo missions. Like
the thing that you mentioned, and I don't know if you can demonstrate for us here, Mike, but the fact that it slings, like it actually can get out of the way. I was really interested in that aspect. How is the buckle system for it? Do you think that the build quality is good? I mean, we're obviously talking about the fact that they've got this thing on Kickstarter now, but that like how swinging that into action and out of action while you were playing across this cross section of games, like did you find that was relatively natural, or were there areas where that was unnatural and quite annoying?
I think the thing is with this, like it's going to take a little bit getting used to. Same with the reloading. You're going to need the muscle memory there to be able to just do it and pull it off. Like after a couple of hours with this thing, I was just doing it naturally. But swinging it behind your back again is the same deal. And the thing is, they use different printing material for the sling mounts. So everything is really like high quality build with this thing. It's all 3D printed stuff, but you wouldn't think it. It looks like injection molded. It's very high quality. But the 3D printing material they use for the inside of the cups is a little bit rubbery, and the same with the sling mounts. So they give a little bit of flexibility, so you're not going to snap it off.
That's good.
So that they've really thought about the design.
Because you could stress fracture that if it wasn't otherwise over time. So good. Yeah.
I think the only criticism I've got over this whole system is obviously, of course, this is a prototype, so it could be improved, and this is actually one of their stretch goals as well. If they hit 300,000 euros on their Kickstarter campaign, they will implement what I'm about to say. And at the moment, they use 4 little cell batteries. They're sort of really high-powered cell batteries, and you have to basically take them out and put them on charge, and then replace them again. And they'll give you about 7 to 10 hours worth of battery life, but it's a bit of a pain to do that. Like most VR accessories, you just plug them in, with a USB port or a mic or a USB-C port, and you just charge it up. And I think I would definitely prefer that in a future iteration of this design. But again, hopefully they can meet their stretch goal, and that'll be implemented for the backers.
We had indeed a couple of questions relating to that. For example, Flem asked, how long is the battery life now?
Yeah, 7 to 10 hours.
7 to 10 hours, okay.
On a full
And then
charge.
Dr. Oculus VR said then, do you need to remove the batteries and then charge them with a rechargeable battery charger?
Exactly that, yeah. So this panel here slides off, and then I can just expose the batteries. There we go. So you can see these orange batteries here. I'll give you a closer look, and you have to take them out and put them on charge in a charger, a universal battery charger, and then replace them.
But that comes with it?
Well, this is just a prototype right now. So
Sure.
Free batteries?
We don't know yet.
Chris Richardson asking, do they have multiple cups for different controllers? So Windows Mixed Reality, Vive, and Oculus.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're also going to be making some for the Knuckles controllers and potentially the Oculus Quest in the future as well.
Because that's really important. Because you want to, if you're like me and you've got a couple of different headsets, you'd want to buy one base and then the different cups.
Yeah, and you can buy all these components separately from their website as well.
It's cool.
I heard that the Quest controllers are so similar to the touch ones that they would fit in the same thing. But I don't know. I heard that from the other company that also makes stocks. Is it called Mammoth?
Mammoth. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said that it's the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool. So there's
Also,
a
we got
sorry, go on.
ProTubeVR in the chat right now. So if people are having more questions or have questions for us, then feel free to tag me or tag ProTube in this.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
call.
absolutely. Yeah, wish them the best of luck with their Kickstarter campaign. Literally started last night, so if you're interested, we've put a link in the description. But there's a little fun fact before we move on, and I got this from reading the book, The History of the Future, and that was that Oculus were actually developing their own gun controller at one point. Palmer was a big advocate of this, and they actually called it Project Cannon. Obviously, Palmer's like a gamer at heart, and gaming was his primary focus when working at Oculus. But sadly, the idea behind Project Cannon was scrapped, and this was just after the acquisition by Facebook, and they were really apprehensive about making plastic guns under the Facebook brand, and that's why that whole project got scrapped, which is a real shame. Yeah, because but again, on the flip side, it means that other people can edge in and make their own accessories, for the Rift.
Well, we still want their own PlayStation VR aim controller on PC.
Of course. So yeah, that is the ForceTube. Had a lot of fun with that this week. So
I'll just mention, given they went live on Kickstarter, so they are currently at so their goal is 68,842, and they're currently almost at 20,000. So they're, they're doing well already.
Yeah.
With 44 days to go.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for that 300k stretch goal. Get some internal batteries in there. We can charge them with a USB port for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on to Boneworks then. This is the final topic of this week's show. This is a really interesting game that is coming. For those of you that have never heard of Boneworks before, it's a game that's being developed by a studio called Stress Level Zero. They made Hover Junkers, which was one of the first titles to come to Vive, and of course my favorite game, Duck Season.
Of course, yeah.
I am the duck man after all.
Josh about those two titles.
The duck
give you
whisperer.
a nice answer. Judged up.
Yeah. So as well as being sort of, this VR development studio, they're also part of this kind of group of people that go on YouTube, and collectively they call themselves Node. And they've got this awesome channel where they do a lot of stuff on there, like airsoft stuff, VR stuff. They're just a bunch of lads that like to have a lot of fun together. It's a really cool channel. Go check it out. But about a year ago on the channel, they showed this VR sort of demo. It was an early demo of Boneworks, and it was really showing some really impressive gunplay mechanics where you had different points of interactivity, where you sort of can really turn, and your elbow will be represented in game based on the sort of geometry of the way you're moving the controller. Everything was physics-based, so you could get like 2 Glock pistols, and you could like touch the ends of them, and they wouldn't clip through each other like you would think they would in a VR game, because we're so used to these sort of janky physics. They actually just like stop. Just like, when you play Lone Echo, for example, and you can really interact and manipulate with the environment, those kind of physics where you put your hand on a box and it doesn't go through it, it's very, very immersive, and it really sort of adds to the experience. And this was the thing. They were really making this realistic gun simulator, basically. And it turns out that demo was basically the sort of platform for what Boneworks is now going to become. So this week they showed off some more gameplay of this sort of development on the channel, and you basically just showed off more of the design. You've got this Max Payne style bullet time thing now, where they were shooting and then like catching the shells that were spent out of the guns, which was like next level. They've got some mechanics where you can climb, a bit like Climby. They've also added Valve Knuckle support, so with the Valve Knuckles you can sort of like have full finger tracking, and they were like sliding this up and down a crowbar, like straight out of Half-Life, sliding it up and down a crowbar, but if they're gripping harder, then the other hand could slide up and down. So it was really based on like how hard you were gripping the crowbar with each hand, how it would move. So basically it was like how it would move in real life if you were gripping it, if you know what I mean. It's really like next level stuff, like super complicated. Like the amount of work that must have been put into this platform is just blows my mind.
And it shows like the potential of the knuckles as well, like because you need controllers almost like this to get this game to its full potential, and that's
I honestly I don't even want to play this game with the regular Vive ones or the touch controllers. I want Valve knuckles.
I agree.
To play this, there's no other way.
I gotta say, I love that Node went, guys. Hasn't it taken a long time for Half-Life 3 to come out? wouldn't it be great if we were able to do something with the Knuckles controllers? And they just fuse those two ideas. It's like a copy of Half-Life 2, some of the bits in this. And I can't fault them for that, because Valve's taken 10 years or whatever to kind of get their act together. And they've done a really good job. I mean, I have to say, for our audio listeners, find this video. Find the video for Boneworks. Find some content on this and watch it, because I have been wholly underexcited about Knuckles until I saw, actually, Nathie, your incredibly viral tweet of, and this is why, we want Knuckles, because that gripping that Mike just described, and this crowbar and the orange theme and the whole kind of Half-Life vibe of it, combined with the technology, this is another one of those leaps where when you see it, your brain goes, holy shit, this is about to be something I can play.
This could become the standard. Like, if you can see a big difference between what we have right now and what this game is capable of. Everything looks so natural. It's super satisfying. It looks good. It works. It looks like you can just do whatever you want without even thinking about what you can do with a controller anymore. And this is really showing the next step of what you can do with these Knuckles controllers. And I think this, if people tried something like this, or a few other titles, they don't want to go back to what you can play right now with Vive ones or touch controllers.
It's a transformation.
This is, exactly the example of the potential it has.
It kind of reminds me, it's funny that you mentioned like Half-Life and everything else, because it's got so many Half-Life vibes about this. They've even got like a mechanical head crab that looks just like a head crab. But basically, it's like, do you know when like Half-Life 1 came out, and then there were all these like tech demos of like Half-Life 2 with the gravity gun and all the physics?
And the
it's
lighting.
Like that leap, and that's what this feels like in terms of its engine. It really is next level stuff. I can't sort of really... I'm not exaggerating here. It is really the next thing.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is, and I don't know if anyone is going to be of a similar pedigree here, but Counter-Strike, when the original Counter-Strike was teasing then Counter-Strike Source and the Counter-Strike Source video and the technology in that. Now, it wasn't breaking the mold of other games that were there, but to see CS jump from this thing that was very much boxed and static to HDR lighting and all these, like, it was such a step. And I still remember taking the time. I was in the Caribbean at the time. Bloody hell. It took me hours to download the video. I saw the video and I was like, wow. And honestly, when I saw this trailer, it just harkened me back to that time. So very excited.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be there's going to be a story campaign with this game. Like I said, climbing mechanics. They're also going to have a balloon mechanic as well, so you can shoot balloons at items. They'll just float off. You can do that with enemies and yourself, by the way. You can just shoot yourself, and then you'll just float into the sky.
I have to say, the story mode is definitely lesson learned from their first title, because multiplayer-only games, unfortunately, peter out, and that one did.
How could they know, as being one of the first ones to?
They were one of the first.
It sounded super awesome in the first place to create one of the only multiplayers, right? So
it was great. Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know Hover Junkers, you take all these panels and you're going around this like wasteland, and you throw those panels up to protect your little floating raft, and you're shooting in between the slats of wooden beams and stuff like that. It's really good. The problem with it, similar to Firewall, is if people are so much better than you, you just get wrecked so badly.
Yeah.
So like within a couple of months, there's no way I could play that game, because it was a relatively dwindling community, and then the people who were playing it still were just incredibly good.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think that they also shared what they made early on with Valve, and I'm sure they also shared some ideas and knowledge. So I think Valve also used this in their favor to improve their experiences. But this feels like this thing they worked on so far feels like a project that could be a blueprint for every developer to use. I mean, if you could use all these mechanics, if you could use all this stuff and then make your own game on that base, I think it would work. It could work. And of course, as Rowdy always says, the story needs to be super neat too. If that combo is there, and this
if you see the popularity of like just physics games in virtual reality, like how because you can do things that you can't do in other games, and that's what makes this so amazingly cool, that you can actually grab objects. That's what we've been saying so much on the podcast as well. Like that is what makes virtual reality so cool. Not that you're just in the world, but that you can actually interact properly with that world. That is what really makes it next level, and they nailed it with this one. Yeah.
It's for the first time in a very long time that I see something that is really different. I mean, there are so many headsets getting announced all the time, and also controllers, but they are all kind of the same. They don't seem to be alive. This is the first time I feel like we have VR controllers on the way that are actually making your hands and everything you do feel way more alive than any other controller could do. It doesn't feel static anymore. It's not dead. It's actually becoming reality. And that's amazing. I think it's
my only concern. My only concern with it is I wonder, when you're gripping with the knuckles, you've actually used them, Nathie, so I haven't yet. With no resistance pushing back, to your point, Mike, is it going to feel kind of ghosty? In other words, is it going to feel under-satisfying compared to what the visuals? Because the visuals sell me right now, but what's the actual tactile side?
It depends on how well it's been developed, of course, and also haptics wise, you really want to feel it. Of course, like right now, these prototypes of the knuckles are still prototypes. The official one, the one that's gonna come out is gonna be, well, I think super duper neat.
And you made a good point, haptics, right? So you can give a sensation, like a translated sensation of that.
Yeah.
Valve proved it in that original archery demo in the lab, right? Where you're like, wow, I feel like I'm holding the bow. Like this feels bloody good. Yeah. So if you do tweak it, refine it enough, maybe it'll be good enough. I'm looking forward to it.
If you can get close to the Nintendo Switch controls, where you can feel the ice cube sliding through your controller, then that's it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like you said, Nathie, you made a really good point there. Like maybe they could license this engine out to other developers and use that as a platform to make more games using this mechanics. I think I'd be totally down for that. But right now, Boneworks will be coming out in 2019. As soon as we have more details, of course, we'll let you know. But the Steam page now is live. So if you want to go and wishlist it on your Steam account, go and do that now. But
the Knuckles need to come out before this game launches, because seriously, I'm not gonna play it with Vive ones or touch controllers. I'm just gonna leave it alone until they drop. I'm serious here. This is the first time I'm gonna sacrifice my I'm gonna be very patient.
I think the guys at Stress Level Zero are very smart guys, being able to pull something like this off. So I would be surprised if they didn't release this game to coincide with the release of the Knuckles.
Well, according to Tyrone Wood in the chat, he's saying that they're actually officially working together with Valve on this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it might actually be. I mean, if Valve, right, they've got so much pressure on them for the Half-Life thing, right? If you see someone developing something like this, not just the fact that it works so well and they've got the finger tracking with the Knuckles, but it can actually depressurize that expectation, because if someone really delivers something that's a bit of a copycat or something, and they actually want to go off and do new IP, it actually might work in their favor. So I'm not surprised at the partnership.
When I saw this, I was like, just use these mechanics for a VR Left 4 Dead game, please.
Oh, same. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. With that crowbar through the head and stuff, man, that would be so good.
This could work. This could also be Counter-Strike. Like, I feel like if you look at just the mechanics itself, this could be any game. It could be a puzzle game. It could be a shooter.
Puzzle.
It could be Left 4 Dead. It could be...
Sky,
maybe, yeah. No, like if you look at it, it's like everything, and it shows that it can be everything. Yeah.
It's like the Source engine.
It doesn't. It might not even feel like games. It feels like, hey, with all these tools, you can make whatever adventure you want.
Yeah. Oh, please.
But if it's actually as good as it looks,
VR DayZ.
Then this is gonna be one of those reasons why people don't want to buy other headsets anymore if they once tried this. I'm not joking. This is one of those moments where people are like, that other stuff I tried, that's nothing compared to this. Yeah. So
it's the next level, getting your hands into VR properly as well.
Oh yes.
I gotta say,
real. Put it that way.
I gotta say one final thing, which is, Node, thank you for keeping in the game, because this is not an easy thing to stay alive, stay lucrative, keep feeding, clothing yourselves and whatever, and pushing for VR. I mean, none of these guys are content creators together. As you said, it's like a house of lads. It's that. But that's not an easy thing. And these are the nests from where we go. You know, we're going to be taking off from this point. So thank you, Node. You know, you guys have done great work.
Nice work indeed. So if you've got any questions for us, put them in the chat now. I'm just going to recap the show times for everyone. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US, or check out the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. We've covered lots of topics this week. ProTube, HoloLens 2, Boneworks, Five Nights at Freddys, so much stuff. Releases next week. It's been a busy show. So I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. So let us know if you've got any questions or forever hold your peace.
Well, we got actually a question from my Rift Kid in the beginning of the show together with a donation. He said, when would you guess a Kickstarter for the X-Stall Gaming Edition might post?
I don't think they're going to launch Kickstarter. I think they'll just sell it as a product when it's ready. Obviously, they've recruited the same test group from Pimax. So you got Sweeviver, Sebastian from Mixed Reality TV, and Thomas from Voodoo DE.
Is there a name for those guys, Mike? Like a collective? The testers.
Lords of the X-Stall.
Lords of the X-Stall.
If they don't have a name,
the X-Stall headset.
We should come up with one and brand them.
We'll have a good name for you next week.
Anyway, if we do know more about it and it comes closer to, let's say, maybe a Kickstarter, or maybe, you know, going like they sell it on a store, or they announce the price, whatever, we will invite our one and only guest that knows everything, that is also an Oracle, Voodoo, and then he will tell us more about it. I'm sure he's open for that.
But what I would say is, if you're interested in next level headsets, particularly the X-Style, you want to start saving your pennies now. Like, I'm being deadly serious, because you're going to need the next level GPU to run it. So I'm not even talking about a 2080 Ti. I think you're going to have to go the next step above that.
And we're talking saleable organs, right? You got your pancreas, kidney. I mean, there are things that you can do. You can go without a lung if you need to, right?
Yes.
If you save up between like $1,000 or $6,000, you can buy a lot of neat stuff.
Please don't cut out your organs for VR.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we got extra organs, right? To sell them.
Yeah. That's what they're there for.
There was an answer here.
Onikaze, I hope I pronounced that right, who said, it's probably been covered before, but are any of you going to GDC?
No. I tried desperately. I reached out to pretty much everyone that I know and said, look, is there any way we can make this happen? You know, I was tempted to fund it even myself. But it's just not worth the financial outlay for me to just cover it on my own. So I'm not going to be going, but I will be watching from the sidelines eagerly for sure.
I know Voodoo is going. So if you want to meet him, you can.
There are two questions. Firstly, there was an answer that Eric provided. He said that those guys together call themselves the Three Musketeers. So apparently they've got a name. There you go.
Okay.
And then the second thing was, some time ago, PD, who moderates very well for us, asked me the question. He said, why are you so against Vorpex, Tim? Because he said he thinks it works out of the box, kind of, it's very good. Obviously, it's got great customer support. I think the guy's called Ralph behind Vorpex, who's incredible. Like, you can go between months. I've messaged the guy and boom, like instant email back, and he's got answers for you. The guy's insane. I don't know. He must have many devices alerting him. But the reason I didn't like Vorpex, and I still have the kind of bad taste in my mouth, I haven't used it in about 2 years, is it's a halfway house. And once you know what VR is, accepting any less is really difficult. I'm not saying it doesn't have its applications. I've been known, I usually cheat using virtual desktop, playing things like DayZ or whatever, when you got a wish list game you hope would be in VR but hasn't been. Nathie, I know you've used it a lot, but I'd say Vorpex for me at the price, which was I think $30-40 for a license for it, and what you get, I was never satisfied with that.
I liked it for the time, in the very early days where there weren't any AAA titles really in VR.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I mean, it's still cool to just try it out, or to see how the world of the game that you like so much is just to look at, but not to play it. For me, virtual reality, and I said it before and I'll say it again, with Subnautica as well, I need that hand interaction. I need that.
So
That's why Boneworks is so cool.
just quickly rounding up the show and touching on Subnautica. I'm not going to go dive into the details, but there is a mod now that you can download that fixes all the UI problems that happened with that game. So if you happen to pick it up for free during the Epic, store startup, go and check out the new Subnautica mod, and then you can play it and enjoy it now. But that's the end of the show for this week. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed it. We've obviously had fun chatting away, talking about our favorite subject, the metaverse, of course. And have a great week in VR. We'll see you at the usual time next week. So until then, bye-bye for now.
Hoo-wee!
Bye-bye.